Hey. Hello everyone, hope you're not bored because we will talk about the democracy and young activists. Maybe it will so fun. Okay, let's go. Hello everyone, welcome to the first episode of Click Act podcast by Engage Media. I'm Dian from Indonesia and with me King is from Philippines. You can say hi King.
Hello everyone. Yeah.
Okay. You know, sometimes it feels like Southeast Asia is under a curse when it comes to democracy, right? Reports from Asia Center and then EIU and other monitors show that civic space is shrinking almost everywhere in this region. You know, like Cambodia with one-party rule, and then Thailand stuck with military influence, and then Myanmar under a coup, and about the military war lately. Yeah, so much in chaos. A real democracy horror show on repeat. And of course, Indonesia and Philippines will not skip the show, this horror show, once seen as a bright democratic spots, but we actually facing the same trend, like restriction and then online harassment and then shrinking freedom of expression, not to mention the political dynasty. Maybe we can talk later. But here's the thing, grassroots movement and young people are not staying silent. From the streets to social media, youth are resisting, speaking up, and then fighting back. In this episode, we will explore how activists in Indonesia and the Philippines are keeping democracy alive. So stay tuned with us because this fight is about us, our rights, and then the future we want to live in. So with all this shrinking space happening around us, King, I think the big question is how are young people actually living with it? I mean, maybe first, let's start simple. What is going now in your country? Update first. What is the issue or moment that young people is pay attention more to? What is social movement, maybe political crisis, or something suddenly viral? You can tell it first, King.
Yeah, I think at this point, it so happened that the past 2 weeks there isn't a very specific viral issue that immediately relates to young people. But some of the long-standing, wow, so funny to define long in the context of the internet, Facebook, and social media. Yeah. But much is being discussed about the ongoing trial of Duterte in the ICC. Next month is an important month because formal prosecution and hearing will happen. Since his sudden arrest the past months ago, there has been long-standing discussions, especially amongst Filipinos and then specifically on social media about it. What makes the Duterte camp quite unique is because they're very savvy when it comes to usage of social media. They are very known to mobilize troll farms. Maybe some of you have already read about this in many articles the past 5 years. In general, the Duterte camp is in the forefront of online propagandas through social media. As in my observation, they're the first ones who actually used deepfakes, AI, to promote content using man on the street interviews, but takes a bit of extra look, especially for ordinary Filipinos, to say that the man on the street interview isn't really real, but obviously generated by a better AI video model, out there specific for videos. It's part of a larger context on social media where initially the Duterte and Marcos camps who run together under a banner of unity. Their unity immediately dispelled, it disappeared in the coming months post their successful presidential and vice presidential campaigns. There's really nothing very political and fundamental or ideological about their split. It's really all about who gets to control resources. coming from people's taxes, how the national budget is going to be divided by their cohorts in Philippine Congress and Philippine Senate. So, and the prospect of the next presidential elections. The Marcos and his cousin, the Romualdez camps, are also gearing up for their presidential campaigns. And then at the same time, Sara Duterte, who's quite popular to many Filipinos who are very, very disappointed about traditional Philippine politics, you know, the man on the street feels coming from his father. Somehow, the younger Duterte, also embodied it. So some Filipinos would find, you know, would click to that kind of provincial man on the street mentality to combat traditional Philippine politics. So given those contexts, there's a lot of bits and pieces, exchanges of this, exchanges of that, you know, from each camp. Much has also been talked about how Sara Duterte, the vice president, eluded of what would have been an important trial because she is being charged for plunder. Actually, she had the opportunity as vice president. She was appointed as the Minister of Education, the head of the Department of Education in the Philippines, and really just playing dirty big time. I mean, how they used funds for education, how funds for education ended up as intelligence funds for something. And you know, intelligence funds in the Philippines, you wouldn't really need to declare who and how, and there's clear paper trail of intelligence operatives being named along the lines of Xiaomi telephones, along the lines of snacks, piatos. It's quite popular in the Philippines, so piatos Xiaomi or something. So obviously these people who are supposed intelligence operatives receive lots of money from the government, but you know, who they are and how they use is really very impossible to trace. So many progressive lawmakers and groups were building on the case to charge Duterte for plunder. There are clear indications that there's a strong basis for the trial, but somehow, because of, again, politicking dominance of Duterte supporters, especially in one section of the Philippine government Senate, they managed to, declare that it's unconstitutional and such cases should openly happen once a year, and technically it's like happening twice. So many people were anticipating that, but Sara Duterte successfully dodged it, and legally speaking, the trial for plunder could only happen next year. And then at the same time, my last point would be, in the midst of all this would be political persecution in various levels. On one hand, there is a systematic campaign by Philippine military, and there is a new department in the government called the National Task Force to End Local Communist Insurgency. And basically, the whole idea of this is a galvanized and unified action from the Philippine government, not only through the military, to ensure the end of insurgency and communist terrorist groups in the Philippines. And NTF, LCAC, and the Philippine military alleges that there are many legal organizations in the Philippines who are fronts of this, according to them, are communist terrorist groups. So even human rights groups, young people's network, and activist groups would be labeled as fronts of communist terrorists, making them fair game for legal persecution. that is continuing to happen, not as frequent or as crazy during the time of Duterte, but that is still ongoing. And after red tagging, as it's commonly referred to in the Philippines, red tagging would end up in social media sites from dodgy Facebook pages, obviously coming from the Philippine military and other Philippine government branches. There will also actually print out actual posters around your house and your neighborhood, really just to vilify you and allege that you are a former commander of so and so, or that you are actually a member of the Communist Party. So social media, actual intimidation, site visits by people from the Philippine military and NTF-ELCA, and then it will end up in a case. Somehow, the Philippine military has cohorts from the prosecution department who's very quick in, filing funny cases, alleging that you were here, you were there during this time of incident between conflict in the Philippine countrysides. And the next sad bit would be extrajudicial killings. The step is like that. It starts with red tagging, social media, your neighborhood. You either get arrested with a trumped-up case, or end up like a victim from Duterte's extrajudicial killings. So, yeah, these are many of the dynamic things, quite sad, coming from the Philippines, who's one of the longest-running democracies in Southeast Asia, tailored fit from the American government, being a previous colony. We have presidential, form of governance where actual people vote your president. It's not like a parliamentary style where representatives from the parliament vote the prime minister. Lots of small pieces. The overall big pieces, but my last point would be, of course, the big dynamics is very seldom captured on social media. So that's the situation.
Yeah, that's really horrible. I mean, like father, like son, yeah. The I mean, we just are recalling the Duterte and the Bongbong. I mean, the Marcos, and yeah. I mean, Sarah Duterte and Bongbong Marcos. What a skibidi image of the year. I mean,
Yeah.
Wow, and actually we face the similar thinking. Education fund is cut to the intelligence fund in Indonesia also, but it's more likely MBG, a free lunch at school. So it's really cut many just for a populist program for electoral things maybe. But actually, because you share interesting things, because behind those statistic and then the index, we want the real stories like what you said. Actually, I really love to share also in Indonesia,
Yes,
because
please.
Okay, thank you so much. So, honestly, what we're facing in under Prabowo now is, I want to start with, we already seen for a big demonstration in just a short time. Something that didn't happen under the Jokowi. Under Jokowi. It's not the Jokowi was better, but he left plenty of problems too. But at least with Prabowo, it was like from the day one, the cracks are so obvious. Why? This is how we start. First of all, I really like this story because the Prabowo is a former military general with a record of human rights violation during the Soeharto era. Yeah, same like we are recalling back to the history, right? Until now, he never been accountable. Instead of passing justice, he enjoyed the impunity. And the running mate, Gibran, who jumped from being mayor of Solo, it's like mayor of Solo, it's like governor,
Yes.
right, to vice president, less than 4 years. Because of what? Okay, we will say about the political dynasty here. That leap only possible because the rules were banned literally with help with his uncle in constitutional court. I say the name, Anwar Usman. Yeah. So we ended up with what many people call constitutional defects, where power passed through the connection, not democratic process. So in Indonesia, I will say that anak haram konstitusi berpasangan dengan pelanggar HAM. Same like Sara Duterte and Bongbong Marcos. It's a skibidi match of the year. Because same with Philippines. They also use AI in the electoral. They use TikTok trends and digital savvy to get voters from young people. And ironically, it works.
Yes.
Yeah, we send the disappointment, right? And let's not forget Jokowi in this game. He himself is playing part, paving because his family everywhere in politics. Kaesang in his son, Kaesang in party, yeah, and then Bobi Nasution also playing politics. This show how democracy in Indonesia being eroded by not by military coup, but elected leaders who simply don't commit to democratic value. So actually, it's not really democratic. When the institution of politics is captured by family instead of serving the public, the results are clear, I guess. Poor public services, and then controversial regulations, and then policies are designed to keep the power, maintain same circle that actually not helping citizens. And then we face also aggressive taxation in Indonesia to support that populist problematic program like MBG, free lunch at school, because the cut of the education fund that caused so many children to fall sick. Yeah, because like food is really risky. It's like, yeah, and weak protection for human rights. So many regulation is problematic, like the KPK was delivered. KPK is Corruption Eradication Commission. It's like weakened because the regulation at KPK and the TNI bill and the police bill is like to expand the power of state to repress the opposition and activists. And also, of course, not to mention the latest one is about environmental destruction. The nickel mining in Papua. It even talk about the mining, and it makes it triggered so many people across Indonesia. People is angry about that because hashtag Save Raja Ampat is really going viral because Raja Ampat is one of the popular destination in Indonesia, and they put the nickel mining there, and with it's really destruction. It's really destruct the environment, and then also, the last one is recently is Pati. I really want to mention the Pati too because it's really inspiring. It's a grassroots communities protest against 25% taxation hike in land tax. It was really inspiring because it's grassroots. It's like people. I mean, like really grassroots people. It shows that people still resisting even in the local context, in local level. And maybe in Philippines, the repression is more direct. I don't know, silencing the media. I heard about the Rappler operation, like something like that. But in Indonesia, it's more subtle, but same result. It's like parties pulled into coalitions. Fat coalition institution getting weaker, and opposition is reduced by from the inside. But the pattern is same. Actually, I see that the pattern, populism and then co-optation, weaker institution. I mean, like at the end of the day, whether it's repression or co-optation, the results are similar. Civic space shrinks, dissent become dangerous, and democracies lose its meaning. I guess. That is much.
Indeed, there are many similarities. Of course, political dynasties. I'm not sure if in Indonesia in the Philippines there have been many suggestions coming from groups that there should be a bill that prohibits political dynasties, but that has been something long-standing, being discussed every now and then. I mean, for the last 20 years. The people's movement, especially young people, will play a crucial part in ensuring that such a bill truly happens. But obviously, without that, without the parliament of the streets, so to speak, I doubt that an anti-political dynasty law could be something that can happen in the Philippines.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about the political movement of youth. Maybe you can speak about that because it's the bigger part. How the committee is responding. You can talk about that also.
Yeah. I'd like actually maybe later you can share more about the youth-led protests that are happening in Indonesia. It's quite interesting because I did overhear and had opportunities to pick up that the current youth movement in Indonesia are somehow outside the more traditional NGO and older activist groups. I find that thought truly exciting. I hope you can share more later.
You can share it first.
Yeah, but as for the Philippines, of course, like many of you, the youth has always played an integral part in shaping Philippine history. I mean, if we have an historical view about it, it's really the young people who led the struggle against our previous colonizers. Yeah. There is very unique student movement, especially in the Philippines, that arose during the late 1960s or early 1970s. For many of us in the Philippines who are interested in history, there was such a period called the First Quarter Storm. The idea is a series of big protests happened during the first quarter of 1971. It was defying in all aspects nearly 2 youth-led protests a day in various parts of the Philippines, not only from Metro Manila. The youth-led protests were so big that it became the basis, among many other things, by Marcos Sr. to declare martial law in 1971. And it will live on throughout the era of Marcos. Many of the political dissenters during the time of Marcos Sr. were young people from the universities who went to Philippine countrysides to live with farmers and workers, and then eventually became the basis of formations of large labor unions, even during the time of Marcos, peasant organizations. Some would not limit themselves to mainstream political struggle. Many of the young red fighters from the guerrilla movement would be young people coming from the universities and others. And it will play a crucial part in the downfall of Marcos in 1986. I need to reveal my age, and I always find it somehow interesting that I'm here.
It's okay.
As from my particular time, I was lucky enough to be a young person, the president of the Student Council of the University of the Philippines, when we ousted the Estrada government. Perhaps in more recent years, it would be in terms of demonstrations and protest action sizes, it would be comparable to the first quarter storm of 1971, which obviously, because of sustained protests during the plunder case of Estrada, during that time we were able to mobilize hundreds and thousands, or even in fact millions of Filipinos to join us in the ouster of a corrupt, a macho and sexist presidents such as Estrada during that time. Of course, it reflected the aspirations of young people, to have a better Philippine government, picking up from the, was what we call the 1986 EDSA revolution, in a way comparable. Many young people during that era would continue to be activists in their own right. I fondly, like for example, the head of
a very integral human rights group called Karapatan. Karapatan is human rights in the Philippines. She is a contemporary of mine. If I was the president of the student council of my campus of UP, she was the president of the student council of, in her era. Various heads of activist organizations would be in my age range these days. And I would imagine that we were all truly inspired by our movement to oust Estrada. Imagine deciding to be an activist or an an advocate 20 years post the time of being young when you mobilized. Yeah. So in the Philippines, the current youth movement, I'm really interested to hear more about the context of Indonesia, because at this point, the Philippines, there is still sustained efforts and continuous coordination between activists of two generations. Maybe the older generation that I came from, there would still be others who are already 60, 70, who were young people during the 1971 student protest. I still see them and still appreciate their work. Every now and then, I still see them in big protest actions, this time with the cane and, becoming sick. There's still that ongoing efforts of, activists from various generations collaborating. There is no distinct youth movement that is moving away from, moving away. They have their own thing. They have their own thing, just again to reflect my age, to kind of dissociate myself from the current generation. But in all respects, the forms are changing. Some of us could be, or even some of them are critical of big tech platforms, its success in actual mobilization of people during times of crisis. Many of them are reflecting if this is important. Sometimes there's a big shift every time. We should really just shift to offline struggle like how you guys were doing. But of course, even coming from us, that's a silly thing to think about, because it should be a combination. Not to favor one over each, but to move away from this and then completely from this. It doesn't make sense. That is the challenge of your current generation of activists, to figure that out. How you orchestrate various forms.
Sorry, because my mic is died. Sorry for the technical things. So this is so much interesting, because I agree with you that offline activism and online activism must collaborate, because in these days we can call it challenges, and we also can call it opportunity, because I think the challenges is that you have to do the two campaigns, like online and offline. But it also, the opportunity, because we can raise awareness bigger than before. So maybe I also want to share, because you as an older activist, but we can collab. That's not wrong. But you're right when you said in the first that youth movement in Indonesia is shifting nowadays, because I think that it is not just move the offline campaign to online campaign, but there's unique way. I don't know in other countries, but in Indonesia it's like that. Young people is not fight back in a boring or traditional ways. Not because not because it's boring, but sometimes we there's a thing that called activism fatigue, where you always fight, resist, like you forget to be a human, enjoy your life. And this nowadays activism is young activism is try to make the activism things, the activity is more fun. It's like mixed with humor and also memes, and also I'm sure that you ever seen about that. And recently, one piece that that said the podcast before, it's also part of the game. I mean, like what we use is fun, popular, and something easy to understand. Because again, the objective is to raise awareness. In Indonesia, for example, we've seen many creative protests like Garuda Biru. It's like it's like bird, constitutional bird in Indonesia, like that. And then that memes turn into political jokes, like something like that, or symbolic actions like demonstration in Roblox. So it's also really interesting because we borrow from anime, K-pop, One Piece, and then another thing to become a symbol of resistance. It's fun actually because we want to break the stigma that activism is like what we call abang-abangan. Yeah, it's like that or something.
What does abang-abangan?
Abang-abangan is masculine protest. It's like, fight back like that. Yeah. Cube, like something like that.
In the Philippines, our acronym for that would be GND.
GND.
GND would be to describe being a grim and determined activist. So even young people during our days, or even young people now, would make a comment about GND. So I guess.
So we really have many similarities. In Indonesia, it's abang-abangan, like abang-abangan. We can like protest with slang. It's not always not always like that. So because and nowadays also through social media, time span is really
short.
Yeah, short. So to get public attention, we have to be more honest, more genuine, like something like that. So we get connected by storytelling, maybe by humors, by something that really human, I guess. So maybe we have many examples in Indonesia, like reformasi di korupsi, Gejayan memanggil. It's also a movement. It's not just in digital. It can mobilize mass protests in the streets, and then Save Raja Ampat, as I mentioned before, and then many and then this why, because the political education in Indonesia is weak, so policies often feel far away from our daily lives. So by using humor, memes, pop culture, complex issues can suddenly feel closer, easier to understand, because not everyone have a privilege to understand the political things. It's like, and it's harder to ignore. And then what starts on social media, it can throw a real action on background. Like that's the power of youth activism today, I guess. Creative, relatable, and then viral. Of course, viral is not always the objective. Yeah, not always positive, but at least it helps raising awareness before we do. Gelatin. No, just kidding. Gelatin. Yeah, bukan budaya Perancis. Okay, maybe we have to, because the limited time, we can close this podcast with one hope. Yeah, always hope and hope, because we live because of hope. So maybe you can start with what is your hope? I mean, like in the Philippines, what about the future we want to have, but the participation, and then we can imagine a future when speaking up normal, and then the government is really work. Yeah, basically democracy, it feels alive and belong to us. Like.
Yeah, of course, in the most general sense. Of course, genuine democracy to indeed happen. There will be specific periods in our countries where we are given the semblance of democracy because we are given the opportunity to vote. But we all know for a fact that it's more complex than that. No ordinary good person known in this neighborhood, despite being kind and intelligent and all the nice values that we would like leaders to be, it's very impossible for them to end up in key government posts, right? Unfortunately, that is the kind of democracy that we have so far
given the limits of how we define and appreciate democracy. I think it's my hope that young people take on the challenge of being socially responsible, to realize that they may be young, they may be inexperienced, but it's their drive who makes actual change happen. They have the time, they're not part of production, they are not workers, they're not employed, they still have options in life, not to engage in an 8-hour job, so on. They are not very limited because of family obligations, etc. They do have specific. There are challenges, obviously, but there is an obvious opportunity for young people. I guess that's why many of the important figures in our own history were one way or another young people, because they did have time, to be leaders, to lead revolutions, to lead changes in various eras of our Philippine history. And it's safe to speak that young people are, in various ways, are taking on that responsibility, knowing what's happening in our region and, in other parts of the globe as well. I think my last hope would be the struggle is taking quite long in various contexts of our Philippine countries. I would get to meet activists from Indonesia from the 1998 era, would probably be in my age range. Many of them are still around, continuing with the struggle and hoping for favorable changes to happen in their countries. Same here in Malaysia, of course. Same way in other parts of Southeast Asia. I think one challenge too for the older generation of activists would be to give way to young people. We could be around here. We could be around here. We could be around here. But I can no longer be here.
Yeah.
I have many limits. I have a family now, compared not like 20 years ago. I have a child. I have my parents are aging. I need to think about them more. It's not like, I can stay in the labor union office the whole week. My parents would be cool. They're young. They don't really need me. They worry, but they don't need me. I wouldn't be able to say the same these days. There's just too many considerations for older activists like me. So it seems easy to say, but it was also a process for me to admit that I am no longer that young person. That I can perhaps compose quick words and stuff and, make you all inspired. But at the back of my head, I know my limits. I know I have considerations. And for me, it was a bit of process to admit that. And I think some older activists, some of them could be more engaged, especially the more healthy ones. But the acknowledgement that, you can still be there, but put the younger generation in the front lines. We have opportunities to share experiences and some insights, but also admit to the fact that we have limits already. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I want to respond to the King first. Actually, I think the key is collaboration, King. So I'm sure that we have our own roles. So even those who are said to be, I don't know, maybe small crews, we value every roles. I mean, like you as a older generation, I really, I mean, like us. I mean, as a young people, maybe I really have to. We have to make so many job generation is not really like that actually. because finally we are human. So maybe not everyone has or must to speech in the common car. No, not everyone, but maybe even the weakest faith we can share to our friends, to our family about what happens, like something like that. So in Indonesia we say kayak selemah-lemahnya iman share ke sosmed gitu. Jadi so we don't want to compete. We want to collaborate.
Yes.
And we believe that every role has its meaning. And again, my hope is I don't want to I hate to pit generations against each other, but I hope the older people in power, yeah, not us, think about the younger people who live longer, who we need decent future actually. So for us young people in Indonesia and in Philippines, the hope is really about our future, where politics is not about fear of repression, but about the participation. We imagine the future where speaking up is normal, where institutions work for people, not for family, actually. Basically, a democracy that feels alive and belong to us. So maybe this is the last time of our podcast because of the time. But thank you so much for listening and staying with us through this deep dive to shrinking democracies in Indonesia and Philippines. Silence, remember, silence is not solution. So keep this conversation going online, offline, in memes, in music, in the streets, because this future is again belong to us. Don't forget to follow, share, and stay tuned with our next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.